Welcome, fellow bookworms, to Riz Den. My name is Whitney, and today we are going to be doing the Bookish Thanksgiving Tag. So if you're in the United States, this Thursday is Thanksgiving, so happy to all those who celebrate. Hope you have a wonderful day. I'm actually going to be cooking this year. And so we just have a chill little group that will be here. But I'm really excited to be cooking. I like cooking. I'm not a big cook, but I do like cooking on Thanksgiving. And so I needed a video idea to kind of just fill in this week. Because some of what I normally do is just not going to be ready until next month. And so I was looking to see if there was a Thanksgiving type tag, and I found this one. I saw Jess from Honest Fiction did it 3 years ago. Jess's channel will be linked down below, but it was originally created 10 years ago by Becca and Erica from Fangirlscity. That channel, I'll link it down below, but it's actually no longer active. They haven't posted in like 9 years, but I'll still link it down below and link the original video as well. I did change some of the prompts. Well, I think I only changed one of the prompts actually, because I just couldn't find something that fit, so I'll talk about that. But otherwise, it's all their original prompts. And it's just fun, and it's different Thanksgiving food, and then the last prompt is just kind of a twist at the end. So let's go ahead and get into it. The first prompt is bread. What book is purely fluff and has no real plot line? So for this one, I went with Ice Planet Barbarians by Ruby Dixon. There is kind of a slight plot line as you get deeper into the series, but it's just pure fluff. And so these books are basically just alien smutty romances. And in this first book, you have a group of women, and they're actually sex trafficked by a group of aliens. Something's wrong with the ship. They get dropped on this ice planet where these big blue guys are. And these aliens, have very few females in their groups. And so they help these women, and in order to survive on the planet, you have to have a Qui, which is a symbiont life force, and the Qui will resonate to their mates. And so then they made up, basically. And yeah, it's just pure fluff, pure fun. And I was very hesitant, but I found a whole chunk of the series at the thrift store, so I went ahead and picked them up because I had seen them around on BookTube. And I was kind of hesitant going in. And then once you get past that first part with the bad aliens, it's really quite fun. It's a fun series. So that's my pick for bread. Next, we have turkey. What book made you want to fall asleep? And I'm assuming they were going for like a boring book. In this case, I actually really enjoyed this book, but I could not keep my eyes open. So when I saw this prompt, it immediately came to mind, and that's The Angel's Command by Brian Jacques. This is actually a second book in a series. The first one is Castaways of the Flying Dutchman, but I actually read this one first. My husband had this one, and then I've since read the first one in the series. I definitely like this one a little bit better. But yeah, basically you have, I forget their names, and I don't think there's a synopsis. Ben, there is. Ben and his black lab. And they are kind of like these immortal beings. They can talk to each other. And they're on the ship kind of on the run. And I just could not keep my eyes open. Every time I read this, I would just, my eyes would just close, and then I would be kind of dozing and dreaming about the story. So I did enjoy the story. I just could not keep my eyes open while I was reading it for whatever reason. And so yeah, that's my pick for that one. Then we have gravy, and the original prompt for this was, what book makes this whole series worth reading? And I kind of think, because generally if I enjoy one book in the series, I overall enjoy the whole series. There's not like one book that makes it worth it. So I kind of changed it and put what book was so delicious you couldn't put down. because, you know, gravy is delicious. And so for this one, and this one really, like, was the best in the series. I enjoyed the rest of the series, but I went with Tiger's Dream by Colleen Hook. This is, I think, the fifth book, I want to say, in the series. Yeah, number 5, it's right there. And yeah, this one, I enjoyed the rest of the series, but this one in particular, like, I absolutely loved. It is chunky, and I flew through it. Like, I couldn't put it down. I binged the whole series itself, and this one in particular was my favorite. And it's a little different. Like, it's kind of goes with the series. Like, you need to read the rest of the series to understand it, but this is a story within itself, if that makes sense. And I absolutely adored it. So basically, in this series, you have Kelsey, and she meets this tiger that's actually a man. He and his brother were cursed to be tigers, and there's a little bit of a life triangle back and forth, and they're having to travel around the world, trying to break this curse on these brothers. And this is kind of deals with like time travel and such as well. So it's kind of after the events of the rest of the series, but it also kind of goes back in time a little bit too. Like, so good. I absolutely loved this. So that's what I went for with that one. What I went with for that one. Can't talk. Then next is stuffing. What book is stuffed full of action scenes? And so I don't like read a lot of like action packed books, so I kind of struggle with this one a little bit, but I did go with this one because there's kind of a competition and such. So I went with The Serpents and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. I cannot talk. And this one, so the series is the Crowns of Nyaxia series, but it's a compilation of duologies. So this is the Nightborn duology. This is the first book in that one. And in this first book, you have Raya, and she is the adopted daughter of basically a vampire like king. And there's like 3 different vampire factions, and they're all kind of warring. And being a human in this world is extremely dangerous. And so there is the Kajari, and it's this competition, and whoever wins that gets granted a wish by the goddess Nyaxia. And so she is trying to win this competition so she can essentially become powerful enough to not always be at risk in this world. And there's like a lot of political intrigue, but the competition, like, I mean, she's in danger anyway, and so there's action because of that. And then you have the competition, which is full of action. So that's why I decided to go with that one. Then next we have mashed potatoes, which I'm a potato girl. So this is I didn't necessarily agree with this prompt. But because I love potatoes, any form of potatoes, like, I am there for, and I love mashed potatoes. And it says, what book looked good and then wasn't? And so for this one, I went with Tiger's Tail by Colleen Hook. And so this one, the series Tiger's Dream is part of was all kind of finished and done, and then this year she kind of revived it and started out with this book. I love the original series, so I was really excited for it. I love the cover of this one, like, it looks pretty, and I was so disappointed by it. Like, nothing really happens in this one. So in this one, it's kind of a what if they were never born, the brothers were never born, they were never cursed. That curse would still exist, and in this one, these 2 twin sisters are cursed. The other one, they're not twins, they're just brothers, but this one, 2 twin sisters are cursed. And yeah, it's obviously setting up for more in the series. But in this one in particular, nothing happens. Like, I mean, it jumps right in the beginning of the original series. So yeah, I was so excited by this one and kind of so let down. And it looks pretty, but it wasn't very good inside. So that's my pick for that one. Then let's see here, we have Cranberries. And what book has the sweetest romance? Which, cranberries are kind of tart, so I don't necessarily agree with this prompt either. But I had a book in mind, so I decided just to stick with it because I was thinking maybe what book has like a bittersweet romance. But the sweetest romance for me, I went with The Heart Principle by Helen Huang. Um, and I had some other ones, like I thought about maybe going with one of the Brown sisters, maybe the first Brown sisters trilogy by Talia Hibbert, which both of these are autistic authors, so maybe that has something. I also recently read The Shadows Between Us and The Darkness Within Us by Trisha Levenseller. I really like the romance in those. But I decided to go with The Heart Principle by Helen Huang because you have so Anna, and then she kind of goes viral. She's like a violinist, um, and so she kind of goes viral, and then she's just like trying to recapture that and really struggling. And then her longtime boyfriend announces he kind of wants an open relationship, so she decides she's gonna have like this one night stand. And then you have Quan, who is the brother of, this is the third in the series, but they're more like companion. You can read them by themselves. But he's the brother of the main character from the second book, and cousin slash friends with the main character from the first book. And he's just so understanding. Um, Anna doesn't really know that she's autistic, and so she's kind of learning that. And because he has, he doesn't realize she's autistic either, which is kind of funny because his brother's autistic, but obviously male female present very differently, and everybody's kind of an individual. But they're just so understanding with each other, and he's just so patient, and I absolutely adore it. So that's my pick for that one. I don't really go like with book boyfriends or anything like that, but I think when I read this one, I said at the time, if I were to, he would definitely be one. So there's that one. Then we have Corn. What's the corniest book you've ever read? And this one I kind of had a hard time with as well. But I had one I read recently, and I thought, you know what, that's just at the forefront of my mind. And so I went with Unspoken by Lisa Jackson. This one is just very dated. It was originally written in 1999 and then revised and republished in 2012. But it's just very dated. The romance is very shallow, like there's no depth to it. The main female character is very like hot or cold. She's the one that left the guy originally, like it's kind of like second chance romance, um age gap, but she left him originally, but she's acting like he broke her heart. Like it's just in like very like cowboy tough guy mentality, like with some of the side characters, and it was just not well written, so I decided to go with that one. Then we have Green Beans. What book is too long and needs to be shortened? And so I went with a classic for this one. Again, I kind of thought of some others, but their length made sense. Like, I just read The Historian, and I don't think you would get the same vibes if it was shortened. And I've read some other long books, but it made sense for them to be that long. So I decided to go with The Iliad by Homer, and I'm sure there's probably an abridged version somewhere that's shorter. But it's just like the story gets lost because it's so and so, son of so and so, like just so repetitively, and it really doesn't need to be like that. And so that's the one that just popped in my mind, and so I went with it, even though it's a classic. And then we have Pumpkin Pie. What book do you read to get out of a reading slump? Um, and so I didn't choose a book for this one. I went with an author. I probably could have said like any of the Harry Potter books. Like they're so easy to just dive in. They're so nostalgic for me. Any of those would be easy to jump in and kind of get out of a reading slump. But I went with Nora Roberts for my author. Because I could read any of her books. We recently read one that was really kind of slow. The ending wasn't very satisfying. Like there's not a lot happening throughout the book, but her writing is just so comfortable for me. I have all her books to date, and I've reread them so many times. Like any of her books, I can just jump into, and just read. and it's very comfortable for me because I'm very familiar with her writing style, and she always writes great characters and such. So I said Nora Roberts. I don't have an actual book for that. And then the last one's kind of not really bookish related. It's more like Thanksgiving, like of a prompt that says dog slash cat. What's your favorite Thanksgiving food that you would steal from the table? Dog. This is Nidra. And I had two. I went with green bean casserole. I don't like green beans. Green beans are my least favorite vegetable, but I love green bean casserole for whatever reason. Like when I'm going back for seconds or going to the leftovers, I go for green bean casserole, and then my other one is ambrosia salad, which I don't know that it's a typical Thanksgiving thing, but we typically have it at Thanksgiving and or Christmas. And it's just a fruit salad, and I'm allergic to a lot of fruits, but the ones that go into this one I'm fine with. You have mandarin oranges, pineapple, maraschino cherries, um, and then it's like whipped cream, and sometimes people put coconut in it. I like the coconut. A lot of my family doesn't, so we don't always put coconut in it. And it's just so good. Like I always have leftovers of it, and I always either end up eating it all the leftovers of that night, or sometimes maybe the next morning for breakfast. But I absolutely love ambrosia salad. But as far as like savory green bean casserole is it for me. Like that's my favorite leftover, and that's if I'm going back for seconds, it's the green bean casserole and processed salad I'm putting on my plate, and forget the rest. And I thought that was a fun one to add in there. It's more Thanksgiving-y than bookish. But yeah, that is it for the prompts. I had fun with this one. Like, so some of them were a little bit difficult, and I did tweak the one to kind of suit my needs a little bit more. But yeah, I think it's fun, and I think maybe next year I might try to come up with my own prompts for some of my favorite dishes. We'll have to see what happens. But let me know if you've read any of the books I mentioned, if you're interested in any of the books I mentioned, what your favorite Thanksgiving side is. I would love to know that down in the comments below. If you don't know what to comment, or you just want to let me know you were here and you're supporting the channel, you could always leave a turkey, a rabbit, or any type of animal emoji down in the comments below. I'm gonna go ahead and leave you guys here. Happy reading, everyone. Bye.